Where's the money going to be in trucking in 2023? Well, that's a pretty good question. It's going to be a tough year to navigate financially by all the reports coming in. So let's have a good look at it. And I think truck drivers are going to have to be careful in 2023 on how and where they spend their money. This video is generously brought to you by drivingtests.org. So for trucking in 2023, there's some good news and there's some bad news. So first, let's look at the bad news. Trucking is not going to be a year, in my opinion, to buy or lease a new truck, and I'll tell you why. The economy is turning down, import freight from China is falling, manufacturing in the US is slowing down, the insurance is high, the new trucks are very expensive, and the fuel is still ridiculous. It's come down a little bit, but it's still ridiculous. So it's not a good time to be investing in a brand new truck, signing on with a brand new carrier, crossing your fingers and hoping it all works out, because that's a hell of a lot of money to invest, and you hate to gamble your money when there's a good chance you'll lose it. Here's something else to think about for 2023. An awful lot of the carriers that drivers lease on with these days, if they're owner-operators or if they're lease operators, are the big mega carriers. And the big mega carriers answer generally to the stock market, to their investors. So because it's going to be a slim year financially, those big mega carriers will be trimming down as much as they possibly can, because they can't trim down the investors, and they don't want to chop the CEO's salary because he's not going to want that. But they're going to be looking for areas to save money in. And one of the easiest ways for those big mega carriers to save money is to trim their driving fleet, their lease operators especially. So there's something to consider. Something else to consider is that virtually all the mega carriers are members of the ATA. And there is a big push in Congress right now for overtime for truck drivers. And the only one really fighting it is the ATA, because the ATA doesn't want to pay the drivers more. They want to operate the drivers as cheaply as possible. So they don't want to get into that at all. So if you're going to survive these days, you've got to stay away from those big carriers and the ATA carriers. And it's funny because a lot of these bigger carriers are now wising up to the fact that the drivers understand what the ATA is and what they do and how they operate. And now drivers are starting to research whether their carriers are paying into the ATA as members or not, because they found out that the better ones don't necessarily belong to the ATA. Something to remember. Let's talk about the spot market. Let's talk about load brokers. Now, you know that load brokers like to save as much money as they possibly can and pay the trucks as little as possible. Now, with the spot markets in the dumpster this year because they're having a hard time getting freight, they're going to keep as much of that as possible as they can. They're not going to have very much freight to dish out in the first place. So if you're relying on the spot market, you're going to be in trouble. And then if you get a load off the spot market, off a load broker, it's going to be cheap freight, because he knows there's 1,000 trucks that'll take that load for less. So it'll be cheap. And some of the load brokers will just pocket the money, not pay the trucks at all, and just disappear and start a whole new load brokerage firm in the next state over. It happens all the time. So stay away from the spot market 2023. Bottom line, 2023 is going to be a tough year. And all the big guys are laying off, like Amazon. Look how much freight comes from Amazon. Now, ordinarily, there are different niches of the trucking market that are better than others. But with this downturn in the economy and the price of fuel being the way it is, I don't particularly recommend any niche, because everybody, everywhere, every niche is going to be tightening down and trying to save as much money as they possibly can. Are you thinking about getting your CDL license in 2023, but you're worried about passing the tests? Don't be worried. Driving Tests has developed an online training course that will help you get your ELDT certificate and help you pass your CDL knowledge exam. Driving Tests is certified by the FMCSA and is recognized as America's #1 CDL online training program. Check them out at drivingtest.org. Now that's enough of the bad news for 2023 for where the money is in trucking. The good news is that there is still money in 2023. And the guys that are going to be smiling all the way to the bank are the company drivers with good established carriers and working as company drivers for those carriers. Now, I'm not talking 1099 workers. I'm talking employed drivers with good carriers, because the good carriers are going to survive this. They're financially set up, they prepare for the ups and the downs, and they know they can't afford in a downturn to lose any of their driving staff, because they know that the market will swing up again, and they know that they're going to need all those good drivers when the things turn back up again. So they will be busting their butts to take care of their good drivers through this. They may split up the freight a little bit, the miles might be a little lower for a few months, but this recession will turn back up again. So the best place to be, the safest place to be, is be a company driver for a good carrier, and happily, there's still lots of those out there. You've just got to seek them out. More good news for trucking in 2023. The autonomous truck manufacturers are not doing particularly well financially. A lot of them have dropped right out of the market because they can't get the investment. TuSimple, one of the biggest players involved, is being sued by their shareholders, and the autonomous trucks are not developing as quickly as what everyone was hoping for. So anybody that's worried about autonomous trucks, they just took another step, a giant step backwards. They won't be ready for years and years to come. Now, don't confuse the autonomous trucks with the electric trucks like Tesla. Tesla is behind, but things are slowly progressing, and you'll see those electric trucks develop and work into the market in different segments. But those electric trucks still need drivers, and that's what really matters to us. Long story short, trucking has never been an easy industry, but if you read the signs, my take is that this is going to be a tough year. Here's how to survive it, but the trucking will pull back out again. If you're an owner-operator and you're with a good established carrier and you don't have a lot of money owing on your truck, you're going to be okay, but I wouldn't be jumping carriers in a period like that. The same for company drivers. If you're with a good carrier now, stick with them, and you'll get through this all right. Trucking has its ups and downs, but it's always been that way. Stay safe. Keep an eye on what's going on in trucking. Keep the rubber side down. I'll see you on the backhaul.